Hmm. Hmm. All right. Morning. 3, 2, 1. Mark. All right. Morning. This is one I think I'd been thinking about doing. I hope I haven't done one on this already. Maybe I have, but we'll do another one. It's not like you sheep will remember. Anyways. All right. I was thinking about the notion of adoption. It's one of those things that it's widely perceived to be a good thing, and I suppose the act itself is a noble one. But speaking from personal experience with this type of thing, it's never ideal. It's never like the ideal thing. I think insofar as genetics plays a huge role in our predispositions or proclivities, the notion that a person is raised and reared and mentored by the individuals who have similar genetics to themselves, their genetic progenitors, if you will, is really important in people's minds, not to mention just the psychological dynamics of a child being abandoned by the one who gave birth to them, and that the type of effect that can have on the psychology and development of the child themselves. It feels like, again, I don't think adoption is ignoble, but it is never meant to be the ideal, whatever the circumstances. And I think it always entails a rather tumultuous type of experience for the child involved. Yeah. Unfortunately, I suppose it's necessary these days. Wish it weren't so. Anyways, moving on. We have some stuff to look at. We have a video by Chris Williamson that we're going to check out. And then we have a video by Sydney Watson about that crazy Mormon chick. Because who doesn't love a fundamentalist Mormon swinger druggy person thingy? Best of all dramas. Mm-hmm. All right. Yahtzee. Is the manosphere... Yeah, all right. Is the manosphere really that dangerous? Louis Theroux, who I believe recently did a documentary on Fresh and Fit. And now he's talking with Chris Williamson. Hey, what the Harry? Let's get into it.
Louis, you've got 3 sons, 20, 18, and 11.
Actually, hold on. Let me just double check here and make sure everything's hunky-dory. Mike's showing up.
Why were you interested in doing this documentary?
Well, for reasons closely related to that. I mean, yeah, that's obviously part of it. As a dad, I saw my...
Is he British? Louis Theroux. Some sort of Norman Anglo-Saxon BS. You know, I think actually the Normans were a part of England or the Normandy was a part of England for a while. William the Conqueror, 1066. Or thereabouts.
Kids were consuming... I mean, consuming maybe sounds more active than it was. They were being exposed to influencer content, manosphere type content, specifically Andrew Tate back in...
Well, this kind of idea is a little bit interesting in that I think sometimes the worst thing you can do to kind of kneecap a person's influence is point out that they're not cool. It's almost more practically useful from a cultural standpoint than pointing out that they did something illegal, if that makes sense. This is something I stole from an Isaac Asimov story, but the notion would be that sometimes tradition is a higher law than actual law, right? The notion that sometimes you do your best work in mitigating the effects of a person just by tarnishing them in a non-legal sense.
the sort of post-COVID era.
Sorry, I'm just seeing this. You guys are seeing this in the corner, right? That's not just something on my screen, right? I'm thinking that's something in his background.
When he first blew up, and I remember kids saying, the boys saying, "Oh, Andrew Tate said this or that," and think like, well, who is Andrew Tate? Like,
Andrew Tate is a tool who thinks being or liking women is gay, which is kind of ironic.
that's not wasn't someone I'd ever heard of, and then the content of obviously turned out to be things like, oh, women can't drive or shouldn't be allowed to drive, or
Based.
women shouldn't be allowed to vote.
Based.
And it was hard.
So for the record, I don't know. That's tongue in cheek there.
That they were sort of,
Although there is literally there is a thing where I think women's hippocampus, the thing responsible for direction, spatial awareness, is generally speaking less developed. Not saying women shouldn't be able to drive. I don't know if I want to be super near them when they do. That's actually yeah. Not all, I guess.
I was saying, like, well, he just says it as a joke. Like, everyone's freaking out about this, but we know what it is. Like, it's clearly clickbait or rage bait, but nevertheless,
That is true. I do tend to think like Andrew Tate and those of his ilk tend to very much lean into the shock value of what they're saying. That makes sense.
its level of virality was kind of, it would be too far to say at this stage it was concerning, but it was kind of weird. It was just weird to see someone blow up like that quickly and to sort of commandeer swathes of the internet.
Well, I guess, when did Andrew Tate actually get super popular? Because I know at one point he'd been a UFC boxer. Obviously, he kind of had stuff going on before with regards to his pimp and hose crap or whatever. But I think it was whenever kind of the resurgent of the, I guess I don't know when the red pill thing really started that much, but
So purposefully, like he kind of hacked.
for the record, him and Sneeko, I think, are going at it, or were going at it these days. They'd started out kind of thick as thieves a little bit, or at least Sneeko was very appreciative, very much admiring of what Andrew Tate was trying to do.
He figured something out about the algorithm, about Twitter and social media in general, TikTok really specifically, doing podcasts, saying outrageous things, having an army of clippers repurpose those into...
It does feel like that. I almost wonder if that's kind of typical of the whole category of the red pill movement, because I feel like a lot of those guys have kind of fallen off a little bit these days, because their whole shtick was go online and say like really outrageous thing, and it feels like sensationalism at its core is not a good long-term strategy, because it necessitates like a continued making things more outrageous, like, because people like they won't continue to get offended at the same things again and again and again. It's a question of expectation versus subverting that expectation, and Hollywood's kind of in the same conundrum now, because their whole thing was subverting traditionalism, but now people just expect them to try and subvert traditional values. So it's like, okay, so what do you do now? You just keep trying to do the same thing again and again and again, because people won't be surprised anymore. They might still be pissed off a little bit, but you're not really subverting anything. You're not subverting our expectations of you, put it that way.
Short snippets, and those being picked up by the algorithm, so that everyone, literally millions, were being...
Completely unrelated. I'd heard a word again the other day. Hooskow. Let's get the popo together and we'll take them all down to the Hooskow. That's a good one. It sounds like a place for crazy people, but I have to look that one up sometime.
Worldwide were being exposed to this content.
For the record, I think it literally just means prison or something, but...
So fast forward a few years, and he continued to become famous. Other people in his stead or in associated contexts were putting out similarly viral clickbait content, and the whole culture felt like it was being inundated. I say the whole, like swathes of male skewing internet spaces were being inundated with it. And then, meanwhile, I'm, as a program maker of 30 years standing.
I think Zoopy was kind of in this whole red pill thing for a while. Well, I guess I don't know about him. I thought he was kind of in that category of persons, and he has like millions of followers, and he's just kind of fallen off a lot. Again, sensationalism isn't a good long-term strategy. It almost necessitates escalation.
I'm always looking for ideas, and I was talking to Netflix about making a program, and it seemed front and center of what I should be covering. As both someone, I've been joking that it's like the final boss battle of the Louis Theroux subject. Like as someone who specialized.
So I assume he's made like other documentaries as well.
It's over the years I've done stuff about racists, cults, sex workers of different stripes, people involved in pro wrestling and gangster rap.
Gangster rap. Here's a question. I was listening to the Beastie Boys' No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Does that not almost come off as rap? So I was just wondering, like heavy metal or like stuff like that, like which would have preceded each other? Like when did rap start out? When did heavy metal? Because I feel like heavy metal and some stuff like that is almost in the same category of like there's not a lot of tonal shift in the music itself. For the record, I don't think rap is music. It's rhyme, it's rhythm. Hot take, I don't think it's actually music. Music generally involves like a up and down, like altering tones and whatnot, not just rhythm or percussion. In any case, I was just wondering like which of them came first, because it does feel like heavy metal or stuff like that, or punk rock or whatever, kind of has a little bit of commonality there with rap. So if one inspired the other, or if they both kind of originate at the same time, or at least independently one another. Interesting.
Aspect of the manosphere, like this section of the manosphere, feels like all those things mixed together. You know what I mean? They look a bit like wrestlers. They speak a little bit like rappers, and the content is clearly highly dubious.
That's true. They do kind of speak like rappers a little bit. At least Andrew Tate, I think, maybe. Yes, I don't know.
At best,
He's being racist, for the record. Yeah, he's saying they talk like. For the record, I do think sometimes people like, even if I don't know if they're even trying to, but they like subconsciously are. They remind me of someone who's trying to act a little bit ethnic, if that makes sense. Like that they're just kind of, that they have like a lilt to the way they speak or the way they walk or talk or whatever, and it's just like, okay, it's cool when black people do it. It's just kind of cringe when you do it.
Whether or not it's sincere is a different question. So I was like, well, this is made to measure, or whatever my skill set.
I guess for the record, there are maybe people who can pull it off. I don't know. I think it has to, like, whatever you're doing as far as your persona is concerned and how cool it is or whatever, it feels like it has to be kind of naturally occurring. It has to feel authentic. It's the pretentious part, perhaps. That's the issue.
That is in terms of making documentaries.
Work today is broken. Every day, people juggle so many different tools just to get work done. A simple task turns into a time-consuming...
I think the wrestling analogy is apt, because a lot of the stuff that we see online, even from, Trump sometimes, is this weird kayfabe. Well, I don't know...
Oh, Trump's taking on Iran, and the crowd goes, what? Sorry, I could not believe... Sorry, it is kind of an apt comparison, I think.
Is this a joke, or is this real? And if... What nobody wants is to be accused of having pointed the finger at someone for telling a joke, saying that it was real. And there's always the sort of the comedian get out of jail free card of, well, like this is, I'm not being serious with that. But at some point,
Nice.
the seriousness
I see he's got
actually comes into
merch, Modern Wisdom. Third eye with a skull. Nice. Nice.
touch reality.
Big time. The wrestling metaphor is, as you say, is very apropos. We're in a culture now.
Apropos. That one. No, I think is I think it literally just means it pertains to the thing that's being talked about. Appropriate. I think it's kind of in the same vein as appropriate, but I think it's a little bit different. Apropos with nothing. Learned that from the community. That's how I heard it in any case. I have to look it up again one of these days.
Where everyone has access to the media. Like we all have our own mini. You know, it used to be. I'm older than you are, but I grew up in an era of 3 or 4 TV channels. Like when cable arrived, that was a big deal. Like, oh wow, you got like 40 channels. Like what? Mind blowing. Now,
I think that is like the one thing that is kind of insane. It feels like time quite often is a little bit, you know, what they say, a flat circle. Like it's kind of only as real as the direction it takes, or the change it creates, or the distance it makes, right? Like we're still on planet Earth. We're still in the Milky Way galaxy. We're still in our own universe, wherever that is. But because of that, it's just like, I think we haven't maybe come as far as we think we have with regards to human nature. We're not as far away as we think we are from the people who are digging around in the mud, beating the crap out of one another. So with regards to a lot of progress, it's maybe a bit of an illusion to some extent, or it's not something that's maybe as concrete as we would like it to be, how far we've come. But man, one of the craziest innovations ever is the internet, in my mind. Like that level of intercommunication between a species, that was not something that we kind of really, well, evolved, if you will. It's just kind of an innovation. Man, it's one of the craziest things that's probably ever happened in the history of our species. This level of communication or intercommunication between the species, it's once in a lifetime. Man, no.
oh, there's a real sense in which we kind of have millions of channels. Like everyone can have a YouTube account and broadcast what they like. So,
Which I'm not for sure is a great. Well, it's simultaneously a great thing and a terrible thing, I tend to think.
we can all curate a media persona, and we all have access to the airwaves of our choosing.
And perhaps like the worst thing about that is kind of the algorithm. The fact that what you watch kind of feeds on itself, and it leans into that a degree of instability, or lends itself to a biased perspective, perhaps. Because again, the more you watch of a certain thing, the more that your algorithm is going to feed you of that thing. For the record, I don't have my algorithm on. I don't have that type of watch history on, so I think the stuff I'm seeing is mostly stuff I search up. I do have subscriptions, some of them. Most of them are cooking stuff. Alex Steele is blacksmith. Jesse Who. Who's that big, like, Samoan or Hawaiian guy who does cooking? Ian something. I think he's Samoan or Hawaiian. He has the cool arm thing tattoo. Baking with Babish. That's one I didn't mention the last time. Baking with Babish does really cool cooking stuff.
And part of that...
And Ryan George. And Ryan George Plus. Give me a second. I have something to get it.
is employing personas and, as you say, kayfabe. Alongside that, you know, as someone who, I mean, I'm a fan of, in a sense, self-impersonation. Like, I find all of that, it's not coincidental that I go into these worlds where people take off-the-peg identities, like, my name's Waldo, and I'm a wrestler, you know, and actually, no...
Kind of interesting.
Your name's Louis Theroux and you're a BBC documentary maker or a Netflix documentary maker. Do you know what I mean? Or the worlds of adult film stars. You know, a lot of these worlds I've gone into are places where you take a new name. And the online world, which I was looking at, same thing. One of the main guys I looked.
It's true. Like it tends to favor a very over-the-top type of persona, the extremes of the spectrums. So it would probably incentivize people to be as over-the-top as possible, and generally speaking. I like to think I'm mostly the same as when I'm in real life, but it's one of those things where I think I tend to go, like, I only have kind of two modes, generally speaking, at the risk of, describing myself and therefore solidifying and concreting the way I have to behave. But it feels like it's one of those things where I'm either completely absorbed with the fact that people are watching me, and it's like a full-on histrionic personality disorder, or on the other end of the spectrum, it just doesn't care at all. I try to favor the latter, where it's like, dance like no one's watching or whatever, but,
Is Harrison Sullivan's his name, but he goes by HS Tiki Toki online.
Is that actually a real person?
There's also a guy called
I mean, it is a real person. HS Tiki Toki. What the hell?
Nicholas Balanthazi, and he
All right. Nicholas Balanthazi
uses the handle Sneeko. So it's another.
Oh wow! Hey, who knew? I should call him that from now on. Nicholas Balanthazi.
Another realm in which you're performing yourself, and you can.
I feel like you should do one on Sneeko sometime, if that makes sense. But I guess I don't know if, like, after what happened to Fresh and Fit, there was a whole thing with Fresh and Fit's former girlfriend that is now coming out and rebuking them in no uncertain terms or whatever. But for the record, I think she was not uninvolved with what was happening on Fresh and Fit and some of the more non-PC stuff that was going on. I guess maybe that's a mild way of putting it. I think at one point Fresh and Fit, one of the guys put on a clan mask and did a whole stream that way, and she was apparently the one who made the mask. And it's one of those things like, okay, how proactive does a victim have to be before they're no longer a victim? How much initiative do they have to display before they're no longer seen as, like, oh, you're just this poor little girl who's being manipulated out? Don't know about that.
Employ irony.
It's good that she's kind of out of it, I suppose, but man.
You can employ hyperbole. You can employ a sort of performative self-parody.
I prefer the notion of irony rather than hyperbole. Because again, in that type of sensational thing, it's not like a stable, long-term strategy. It's kind of an avaricious type of thing where you have to keep feeding it more and more.
All of them obfuscating who you really are, but sneaking in the whole time. I mean, I sometimes say puckishly, like, there's no such thing as a joke. I mean, obviously there is
Puckishly. That's one I don't know.
such a thing as a joke, but there's a sense in which all jokes contain a masked truth. And so you can be racist as a joke up to a point, I guess, but there comes a time when actually you're just...
I think that's partially true. I think sometimes... I think perhaps quite often jokes are meant to mask a truth on some level. And maybe even inadvertently they communicate something like that. But I don't think it's always the case. I think sometimes people are just shit-talking or whatever.
being racist.
Yeah, what's that line about any organization that starts out pretending to be a cult or making a joke about being a cult eventually becomes a cult?
Very true.
It's kind of interesting.
And so there's this kind of double-edged challenge that I had in making a program of wanting to take it seriously as a subject and not wanting to take it more seriously than it deserved. Right? I think there's elements in all these kinds of stories.
Sounds like a good strategy, honestly.
Where you have to you can't fall into the trap of...
It's one of those things where, like, I think as a person who's doing the news or a person who's doing content or anything like that, you never want to be seen as like the old dude who's just like get that ball out of my yard, you little bastard. No, it's kind of a, like, yeah, it feels like if you want people to take you seriously, you kind of have to not take what you're doing too seriously to some extent.
Seeing it as being a part of a moral panic, there's a sense in which you have to keep things
Get the shovels. No, get the torches and pitchforks.
in proportion. I do think that youngsters are very often able to read media in a way that is quite subtle, and they can see the parts of it that are performative. Like, I'm an old school fan of rap. Like, I used to listen to some of the lyrics, if you took them literally, are horrific. They're literally about, going around killing people. And
again, there's still that notion of, like, if you are just, like, over the top taking it seriously, things that aren't really meant to be seriously, it just kind of makes you look like a numpty.
Just committing violence and I'm talking about old school NWA and Ice Cube, Eazy-E, and then that whole era, and Tupac to an extent, even to this day. Like, I still like a lot of grime and drill music, but you sort of learn how to read it as.
For the record, I think that the British rap scene is not exactly the cream of the crop. If you could think of any people less suited to rap than Britain or British people, the only people I could think of would maybe be the Germans. But no, I think the Germans, they have kind of got swag. They've got swag. English are the most stilted culture, pretty much, in my mind. That's one of those things where I would not have thought of them as being any good at rap, just in general.
Not complete.
Although I guess maybe it's just like the upper echelons or the snooty, posh accents that I'm thinking of.
Literal. So it's in the manosphere. There's a similar issue, which is how what parts of this you don't want to. You got to. I try and employ enough of my own irony, enough of my own.
Which parts of it just specious humor, sacrilegious.
Sort of sense of recognizing the parts of it that are playful and irreverent and.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. Irreverent. That's the word I was.
Almost kind of enjoyably outrageous, and then the parts of it that are just over the line, abusive, bullying, and factually wildly incorrect. Because the flip side of having a world which everyone has a media channel is not.
And I feel like that is kind of one of the glitches about them, like where I think they do come off as a little bit like, hey, let's just have some fun and poke some fun at some people who are very easily offended, which all fun and good, all well and good. That's one of my favorite pastimes, ticking off people who I feel like almost need to be ticked off a little bit. It's good for them, shakes up their beliefs and whatnot. But beyond that, I feel like a lot of the manosphere people would go and they would get a whole bunch of women who were not of the highest caliber and bring them onto a show where they could, score points by making fun of these women or whatever. So it's kind of a little bit like, yeah, they're having fun. Yes, they're just irreverent, but also they're kind of trying to make larger points about women as a whole, which is not exactly the best from my perspective.
Not just, we all have an ability to become celebrities and perform ourselves in public, but nothing is curated. And so suddenly we're in a world where it's widely believed by many young people that the earth is flat. It's become
It's funny.
relatively normal to.
And that's the point. Like, is it a good thing that everyone can speak their things? Because with the sheer inundation of content, it feels like everyone can find a place where they belong to some extent, so they can just run around. Hey, I make friends over here, get involved in this group over here, and get really, really involved in that, and create my own echo chamber. Because there's enough people involved that you can just fit in anywhere. It used to be back in the day, the way you made friends was not so much along, ideological or political lines necessarily. It's more just proximity. I mean, you talked with the people you were around. And I think to some extent that was a much better model and provide a much better, like a much more balanced perspective. Because you didn't really necessarily make friends or allies with people who agreed with you on everything. You made friends with the people you were around. That's one of the one of the best features, I think, of religion in general. The people you get to know are not people who you necessarily agree with on anything else or would have met like in any other circumstance. There's just this commonality of a seeking of the good of humanity, or salvation, or religion that brings you together and forces you to cooperate with people that, again, they're not exactly your natural playmates, if that makes sense. There's a less weird way to say that. They're not people who you would naturally have an affinity for.
Say that the pyramids were built by space aliens. They
that's just, I don't know about that.
doubt whether we've been to the moon. I mean, call me old-fashioned, but it's like I have limited patience for that kind of nonsense.
One of the things
That's one of the most British things I've ever heard. Anyways, you can probably go check out the rest of this if you like. Is the Manosphere Really That Dangerous? By Louis Theroux. And, by Chris Williamson. Interviewing Louis Theroux. Alright. Everyone ignored the red flags. About the Morven housewives. I think this one's called Taylor or something. Secret Lives of Morven Housewives by Sydney Watson. Everyone ignored the red flags. That's the name of the video. But it's about one of the secret wives of... Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
And we were fighting at each other. And
for the record, this is the one that was beating up on her friend, boy toy, whatever.
And then he I was going at him, I guess hitting him, and then he pushed me into the kid stuff. And then I went ballistic because he pushed me so hard. And then I fought back, and then we were just fighting.
This is one of those situations.
It feels like I sometimes joke about women being hysterical. She's actually hysterical there, it feels like.
Situations that just goes from bad to worse.
Or high, or drunk, or both.
Hi, my name is
Which?
Sydney. Welcome back to hell. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, just a quick note that my tea, Raspberry Elderflower Rosé, is back on the website. I know that it's been out of stock for a hot minute, and a lot of people missed it, but it's back now. And I finally got my boxes right, so they might look a little different from here on out, but I love these ones. They feel nice. They're soft touch.
That's why we left Britain, right?
Anyway.
For the record, I actually do like tea in general, but, yeah.
If you want to get yourself...
I don't know if taking tea from a British person is a little bit traitorous.
A box of Raspberry Elderflower Rosé, or really any of my other teas, go to the link in the description box. They're all very nice, I promise. Alright, baby bird.
Sorry. Again, completely unrelated. I thought of a new thing for furries. This is no, I'll do it now. Here's what, if I were the benevolent dictator of the world, here's what I would do with furries. Okay, it's fine if you want to act like an animal and pretend to be an animal in society and all that. But if you're going to pretend to be an animal, then you have to survive like one. That means every year, when hunting season comes around, you have to go out into the forest with the rest of the animals and live off the land and survive and try to escape the hunters. Okay? Maybe you can band together and form tribes or packs or whatever. But that's fair. Okay? You can be like a creepy little furry in society, but you have to be willing to survive like an animal if you're going to pretend to be like an animal. That's fair dinkum. That's my idea, anyways.
It's when I tell you that this situation is insane.
I don't know, maybe it was Lion's Tea Exchange that ticked it off, but...
I mean, it is documentary style.
I'm going to be catty for a second. I feel like her hair is wet and matted, and maybe she should have dried it off or something.
15 level.
But, Let's not let that distract.
Of psycho insane, and I need you to believe me. I have to admit that I've never been on this side of the e-drama. I've never been across this community of e-drama. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on Mum Talk. I don't do the
Same kind of here, but I guess I watch sometimes YouTube Shorts, which is kind of in the same category. I say sometimes. I quite regularly watch YouTube Shorts.
doom scrolling. So everything associated with this bachelorette situation is new to me, and all of it is wild. What are we doing? So if you're watching this right now and you're thinking, Sydney, I don't care.
Joshua Weissman, another cooking. Sorry, I'm interjecting here a lot. Joshua Weissman is another kind of cooking channel that I subscribe to. Does pretty good stuff.
About the Bachelorette, I would never watch this. Genuinely same. But if you're capable
Ditto.
of putting aside what the show is and what it's about, I think this situation matters because, number one, we really have to question the kind of people that we go ahead and make famous and then give a bunch of money to. I think it matters because it speaks to how far media entities will let things go before they pull the plug, and there's also a conversation here to be had about how society in general responds to men being abused. And I mean, of course, if you like to observe of other people's lives with your mouth agape, wondering how they function alongside the rest of us, then this is the video for you. So
I do feel like we should almost at some point just get an island somewhere and send all the crazy people there so they could, be crazy with each other.
sure that some of you, and I say some because
To be fair, though, I don't know if crazy people actually have that much in common with how they become insane, really, or what that insanity entails. So I don't know if they would actually get along that well. I suppose they could. I don't know.
I'm assuming that the vast majority of you don't follow this stuff either. So I'm assuming that some of you have heard about the recent drama surrounding the
Frankie Paul. Wow, I was completely wrong. Are you sure? Maybe I'm not.
show The Bachelorette, starring a woman called Taylor Frankie Paul, who is 31
Vindicated.
but doesn't look 31. I honestly don't know what age I was expecting, but it wasn't that. Anyway,
that is true. Like, I had heard that before, like, she was 31. Man, that is unsettling.
on March 19th,
Like, I was expecting someone like some sort of mildly, like, I don't know, like an older lady who is a nymphomaniac or some crap like that. I was not expecting her to be like as young as she is.
In 2026, ABC announced that it had cancelled Paul's season of The Bachelorette, which was set to air on March 22nd, 2026, so like a couple days from now. This announcement came after two main events, both involving domestic schmielence, if you know what I mean. The first was news that broke in mid-ish March that confirmed Draper City Police Department in Utah were pursuing an open domestic assault investigation involving Taylor Frankie Paul and her ex-baby daddy Dakota Mortensen, with whom
Sorry, I was just saying that I was thinking that I don't really know if I take good pictures, especially when they're posed. And there's nothing about it that just I don't know if I can like act natural or actually create a really good pose.
she has a small baby boy. Paul reportedly attacked Mortensen, choking him, scratching his neck, and slamming his phone against a wall. She also apparently called him hundreds of times at one point, but I'm not sure if that's
Ooh, not in the least bit schizo.
part of these recent allegations or at what point she did this, but this is a screenshot of his
For
phone.
the record, I think I'd heard that like 50% of all domestic abuse cases are bilateral, and for maybe there's a little bit of a hidden like kind of idea in that. I think very few people are willing to just sit there and get beaten up on. So it's a question of maybe who is the more domineering of the two, I suppose, as well. Like maybe one of them started it, and the other person at some point just couldn't take it, so they started doing it in reverse or whatever. But again, the fact remains that like 50% of them seem to be like bilateral. I don't know who's the instigator, perhaps who started it. Maybe one of them would have just been fine or whatever if they had a decent partner who wasn't that way. I don't know though.
With the hundreds of calls, this is
in this case, it does feel like I don't know if this one is actually going both ways. it feels like she's kind of the crazy one. I'm not for sure, though.
Okay, I'm not going to lie, guys. This is not very Hinge behavior. Do not do stuff like this. Paul also alleges that Mortensen got physical with her during a recent car trip that resulted in police being called. So that was the first Catalyst event. The second Catalyst event was a 2023 video resurfacing that showed Paul.
I think in this video or whatever, like, there was the child involved as well, which was, I think she ended up getting hit by the chair that Taylor had thrown at her boyfriend, which is, not the coolest thing you could do. It's at the very least, like, I don't think it was intentional, but it's, criminal negligence or some crap.
Paul throwing chairs at Mortensen.
I guess allegedly, I don't want to get sued or something, but I don't know if anyone gives a crap about my channel anyways.
During a DV incident. I don't think I can show you that video here on YouTube for obvious reasons, but the video basically has Paul first punching and kicking Mortensen while he tries to, I guess, reason with her, and then she starts picking up and throwing metal bar stools at him. Mortensen can be heard in the video saying, "Taylor, your daughter is right here," because her child is sat off to the side of the screen, I guess, while all of this is going down. So not good, not very Cash Money behavior. Like I said, do not do stuff like this, guys, to anybody. If you're
Encore. Oh, bro. Again, ditto.
you're going to throw things at your loved ones, throw doves or rose petals.
Or plushies.
Neither of those things are readily available. Just don't throw things at people, maybe. Now, in response to this, a spokesperson for Taylor Frankie Paul said that the video in question omits context, okay, and said that releasing an old...
For the record, there was a whole thing about Emiru, actually, after the fact a little bit. I know, like I said, obviously the time I talked about her was about her getting canceled for not wanting to talk about politics, which is a very, like, again, I stand by that. I don't think she should have to talk about politics. I don't think anyone should have to if they don't want to. In any case, I was beyond that. There was actually something before that where she was talking about her previous boyfriend, and she kind of, I would say, overcommitted. That's where for the record, that's where the plushie thing came from. Her boyfriend was saying something to the effect that she had been abusive too. She would throw plushies and clothes at me, and I would slam doors and punch through walls or whatever. Like, I don't know. For the record, like, as far as he's concerned, he seems like a grade A tool. That being said, again, it feels like in her accusation of him, she kind of overcommitted in that she said that he had committed sexual assault against her, but the way she describes it, it's not really sexual assault. Like, the way she describes it, it's not what I think most people would consider sexual assault. That she then, like, I think he tried to sue her over that. She kind of walked it back a little bit, saying, I guess her lawyers, walked it back, saying she was clearly describing her emotional truth or whatever. Yeah. But again, like, the way she described it accurately, for the record. I think that's kind of her one saving grace, is that she did accurately describe what happened in this scenario. And for the record, also in the scenario, she kind of says something to the effect that he didn't stick around and say sorry or check if she was okay or anything like that, which is not exactly something you would want someone who just committed sexual assault against you to do, really. Yeah. It's a bit convoluted.
Video on the
more complicated than the latter happenings with regards to, yeah, never mind.
The pair's son's birthday is a reprehensible attempt to distract from Mortensen's own behavior. Paul's spokesperson also told Frankie Paul said that the video in question omits context, okay, and
omits context.
Said that releasing an old...
Here's a question, like, did any of her other partners spouses, whatever, did they ever report anything like this, or is this kind of an isolated incident?
Video on the pair's son's birthday is a reprehensible attempt to distract from Mortenson's own behavior. Paul's spokesperson also told Page Six that after suffering mental and physical abuse for years, Paul is finally going to face her accuser, who is Mortenson, and is taking steps to ensure that she and her family are protected from any further harm. After
I think he's, this may come up, but he's the one who actually got a restraining order against her. So there was apparently at least enough evidence that he was able to do that, right?
watching a lot of these two people, I feel like my natural inclination here is to definitely raise an eyebrow about the lack of accountability being taken on Taylor Frankie Paul's behalf. Because, you know, this is a woman who clearly has issues. I do have to admit...
And for the record, I think she does actually abuse drugs and probably other stuff. I imagine most people who abuse drugs are not above drinking or that type of thing as well.
That, I have my own issues
And I think actually I heard that she was into drinking as well.
Well, I'm sure that all of you do too. But a lot of mine revolve around sleep and not getting enough sleep, which is
Nice.
why today's
Yahtzee.
video is sponsored by Beam. Kids, it's been a long night of editing for little old me, and I want to wind down for the night. I've been staring at a screen, which means that my brain is probably gonna have trouble just shutting off. Now, I could always turn to chemicals like NyQuil or doing a magical dance outside until I'm tired, but I will always choose Dream Sleep Hot Chocolate, because as you guys know, they are basically one of my favorite sponsors on this channel, and I will never stop telling you how much I love them. Why, Sydney? Why is it your favorite? Because I am a highly strung person who are basically one of my favorite sponsors on this channel, and I will never stop telling you how much I love them. Why is
Glasses.
Sydney? Why is it your
Different glasses.
favorite? Because
No glasses. This can only mean that she's a witch. Alright. Sorry, I was just... Behold dog. Dog. This is a tortoise. This is not a dog. Time for dog. Praise the dog. Again, tortoise, not a dog.
I am a
Seek dog. Oh, for the love.
highly strung person who finds sleep reasonably elusive, and almost every night
I feel like a lot of people these days, especially, like, stress, I think, is a huge thing for most people. Like, I don't know if we were meant to take the amount of input that we literally are taking in with regards to the internet, with regards to news, with regards to just how much we have access to. And maybe there's some mechanism we could adapt to handle it better, but I don't know. I just tend to think stress is probably gonna... It's just kind of a very ubiquitous thing these days, and not good.
I either take the dream sleep capsules or I make
Capsules, not capsules.
dream sleep hot chocolate to drink. And anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour after doing so, I get sleep.
How do you feel about water in hot chocolate? I hate the notion of it, and for a long time now I don't really do it. It just feels like it doesn't taste the same. You gotta use milk.
Sleepy, I go to sleep, and I stay asleep. Which is quite hard for a person whose brain decides it is imperative to think of every embarrassing thing I've ever done at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that used to happen to me a lot.
There are so many products on the market that promise you 1,000,001 things. Dream promises you one, and it delivers. You get good sleep, and you don't wake up feeling groggy and disgusting. It has great ingredients like
Reishi mushrooms. My parents have a coffee that messes with that. Yeah. Magnesium, theanine, melatonin. 3 grams of melatonin. Apigenin?
getting a good night's little package I love this thing. So if you are tired of not getting a good night's sleep, waking up in the middle of the night, and in honor of March being Sleep Awareness Month, get up to 40% using my link, which is in the description box, and using code SydneyW for a limited time. So click the link in the description box or go to shopbeam.com/SydneyW for up to 40% off your order today. That said, on a statistical front, a lot of relationships where DV is present like this are typically violent in both directions.
Again, I still wonder about that. Like, if it would have been a scenario in which only one of them would have been violent, but the fact that one of them is violent instigates the other person. Because, like, a person who would respond with violence, I don't know if they would be in the same category as a person who would initiate the thing themselves. It'd be an interesting thing to study as like a terrible thing to study, but also intriguing on some level.
Meaning that it is entirely possible that Paul's claims are true and she is also a victim of violence herself. But it's also entirely possible that this is mostly one-sided and many of Mortensen's actions are simply evasive or defensive. Either way, we will never know, but in 2023, Paul was charged with aggravated assault, 2 counts of domestic violence in the presence of a child, and child abuse with
I'm assuming this is with a different individual.
Injury and criminal mischief, which she inevitably pled down in court, and I'm pretty sure right now she's still on probation. We also have some fun...
So she literally pled guilty to all this stuff. So in that scenario, she wasn't like contesting it, or she wasn't contesting that it was kind of on her, at least, or something?
Body cam footage.
Like, I'm assuming there wasn't like a countersuit there. She was literally just saying, "Hey, yes, I did this stuff."
Where Paul is very obviously drunk, crying, and trying to explain how all of this came to pass.
And we were fighting at each other, and then I was going at him, I guess hitting him, and then he pushed me into the kids' stuff, and then I went ballistic because they pushed me so hard, and then I fought back, and then we were just fighting, and I just want him out.
Where did the kids go?
Point of contention. I think I've seen the video involved. She didn't say that she wanted him out. I think he wanted to leave. But perhaps she's not thinking clearly here.
My daughter's right there, and then my son's up sleeping because we had my family member that was babysitting.
I think her reaction is super interesting when it's juxtaposed next to Mortensen, who's basically saying, I have been trying to leave. She would
fancy that.
But let me leave. I just want to leave.
All I've been trying to do for the last hour and a half.
And again, I think that's actually in the video. He's saying, like, just let me leave or something like that, and that's not what's happening.
It's to leave. I mean, I'm just being bombarded, stealing my keys. She's jumping on my truck, slamming my doors. Like, I think my truck.
Is that your white truck?
Yeah, I think my truck doors broke. Like, she was on top of my truck, jumping. Like, dude.
Trollops be crazy. Women be crazy. Maybe that makes more sense.
I'm just. I can't,
Sorry, I try not to use the B word that often.
I can't even believe what just happened.
Unless I'm talking about an actual, like a female dog, but you know.
Worth noting as well that as of recently, Dakota Mortensen has filed a restraining order against Paul. So this.
To be fair, it's got kind of a lot of meanings. Bitch has got kind of a lot of different meanings. It's a very rich sort of word, rich in its evocations, if you will. Strange the way that happens.
Whole thing is obviously just spiraling out of control, and these two together is it's just toxic. It's a toxic hot mess with not a lot of hot in there. Now, chickadees, of course, there are a few different angles to this situation. Of course, there's the DV side of this, which we're not going to get into too deeply in this video because I don't.
For the record, I never heard the term DV before, but I think she means domestic violence.
Have enough information. I feel like there's a lot to unpack. Like I said at the start of this video.
So you might actually say that.
But you also have the why do we elevate these people side of things. Then there's the why did Disney elevate this person side of things, and why have they continued to elevate her.
Wait.
And I want to focus.
So Disney is the one who puts out The Bachelor.
Elevate this person side of things, and why have they continued to elevate her? And Disney elevate this person side
Disney.
of
All right.
things, and why have they continued to elevate her? And I want to focus on that last point because I think it's extremely interesting, and it's just so emblematic of what makes money in the age of our Lord 2026. For anyone on the outside looking in, it seems that Disney, who owns ABC and therefore The Bachelorette show, realized they'd
Gotcha. So it's kind of a conglomerate stuff more.
cast an insane person who was going to be horrible for their brand and their ratings, and then just decided to pull the plug. But that doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of what's actually going on here. And I am of the opinion that Disney absolutely knew, down to the freaking ground, who this woman was and everything about.
So I sometimes wonder, like with shows like this, like how much of it is actually genuine and how much of it's just scripted, or at least pre-planned, perhaps by the people who are doing it. Big Break, for the record, Big Break is one my dad watches, but I don't want to burst his bubble, but I think some of that stuff is scripted because they literally have interviews after the fact, what's going on in the moment, and the people are kind of like, I'm not for sure like how that would work with like how it's all going on. Like, are they pretending to still be pissed about this, or maybe they do it like the exact day after, so the people, it's still like fresh in everyone's mind. I'm not for sure about that though.
They were absolutely prepared to run this season until this new video dropped, or this old new video dropped.
For the record, Big Break is not it's not a romance show. It's a golfing show.
And they deliberately picked
But I think it's some of the same kind of maybe social dynamic. Well, there's rivalry and competition going on, so it's kind of they do stuff that's maybe a little bit reminiscent of how dating shows would do.
Someone as unhinged as Taylor Frankie Paul in order to try to do something different with this season, and it has simply
For the record, I think there are a lot of guys that'd be like, "Oh, I can fix her."
backfired spectacularly. And now
Serendipitous.
they realize that losing $100 million on this show, which is what they think they're going to lose, is less than the amount it would cost them in sponsorships and advertising and the damage done to their brand if they ran this season, which is that.
The Vile Files. Sorry, I'm just getting completely distracted here. Sorry, Sydney.
And advertising and the damage done to their brand if they ran this season, which is.
That's actually probably an accurate assessment.
That's crazy. So I personally think, with no real proof other than just the fact that I have.
But like, I feel like this isn't like a out of the goodness of their hearts type of decision. I think, well, perhaps, I don't know, if like conglomerates or consortiums. What's the most common, like, come on, corporations. I don't know if corporations really do things out of the goodness of their hearts, generally speaking. It's more just a bottom line, hey, we're going to lose money if we do blank quite often. Maybe with regards to like some of the lower people in like Hollywood or production companies, they do things that are not in the best interest of the company. But I feel like the people at the top of the company, they're kind of the cold, hey, how do we make money type of people, generally speaking. It's kind of probably why they got where they are, hopefully. I say hopefully. I don't know. Like, I almost prefer the cynical, let's get some money, because at least sometimes that's like, in a practical sense, that greed inspires productivity. Whereas like the ideologue, let's do something good, and activism that goes along with that, I think is very rarely productive at least in a fun way with regards to producing movies or stuff like that. It's just kind of this, hey, let's preach at you for a while. But sometimes, on the other end of that, sometimes the cold, cynical, let's make some money inspires like endless remakes of the same movie and live action remakes and BS like that, which is not the greatest either.
Eyeballs. The reason that they decided to dump Taylor Frankie Paul was not because she abused her ex-boyfriend and is clearly a deeply disturbed
It's because she's racist.
woman, but because they couldn't find a way to twist these new situations to fit whatever narrative they'd woven into the show for her. I don't consume A ton of reality TV, if I'm being honest, because realistically, there's only so much degeneracy that I can take. But
Based.
I think it's pretty evident at this point that producers like to build.
Wasn't Jersey Shore like one of the earliest things of that sort, or the Kardashians maybe? I haven't really got like beyond like Duck Dynasty or stuff like that. I don't really get into reality TV, I don't think.
Stories and perspectives around specific people on these shows. And I think for Paul, there was probably going to be some sort of redemption arc. You know, she's this woman who's had some crappy relationships. She's done things she shouldn't have done. She's acted in ways that are not very mom-in. You know, she's trying to take responsibility for herself and be a better
For the record, I don't really know what Mormons act like.
person. And then
I feel like generally they're more...
we all clap. And I don't feel like I'm talking out of my butt here because I feel like this is alluded to in some of the snippets that the Bachelorette show has posted about the Bachelorette show.
A lot of them didn't know necessarily my exact story coming into this, but I think me kind of...
Pray hands. My exact story. Sorry. For the record, coming at this from like knowing kind of what I know, maybe it's just being like hyper cynical of everything she's saying or doing.
Opening up the books of like, I'll be honest with you, and I don't have a pretty past, and I think it makes them feel like, okay, maybe I can tell you all of my past, and you're not going to judge me. And true, I won't.
I think
That's really deep and completely self-interested, given what seems to have occurred. Anyways, you can go check that out if you like. Everyone ignore the red flags. Now, for the record, it's good to get stuff off your chest, but probably not best to do it online, in my humble opinion. All right, sushi, which is a barbarous practice. I mean, why would we not cook stuff? But we're going to look at it anyways. All right. I'm assuming that, I don't know if the origin would have been practical or just something they decided to try. All right. Sushi, pronounced blah, 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 is a traditional Japanese dish made with vinegared rice, sushi meshi, typically seasoned with sugar and salt and combined with a variety of ingredients, such as seafood, vegetables, or meat. Raw seafood is the most common, although some may be cooked. While sushi has numerous styles and presentations, the current defining component is the vinegared rice known as shari, or shumeshi. The modern form of sushi is believed to have been created by Hanaya Yohei, who invented nigiri sushi. Zushi? The most commonly recognized type today, in which the seafood was placed on hand-pressed vinegared rice. This innovation occurred around 1824 in the Edo period, 1603 to 1867, and was the fast food of the Chonin class? What's that? Yep. Come on, hold still, you little bastard. Alright. Was a social class that emerged in Japan during the early years of Tokugawa period. The word Chonin comes from the character Cho, meaning city ward, and the character Nin, meaning person. In the social hierarchy, it was considered subordinate to the samurai warrior class. Alright. Sushi is traditionally made, so it originated as kind of a low class, or at least middle class dish, but now it's kind of considered almost high class, I tend to think. Sushi is traditionally made with medium grain white rice, although it can be prepared with brown rice or short grain rice. It is commonly prepared with seafood, such as squid, eel, yellowtail, salmon, tuna, or imitation crab meat, surimi. Certain types of sushi are vegetables. It is often served pickled ginger. You know, I don't like ginger. No offense to I think that it tends to be a pretty common recipe in Asian recipes. I just don't like ginger. Or honey, for that matter. Like, at least not in, like, marinades or whatever. So I just don't like the taste of it. Wasabi and soy sauce Daikon radish or pickled daikon are popular garnishes for the dish. Sushi is sometimes confused with sashimi. Is a Japanese delicacy consisting of fresh raw fish or meat sliced into thin pieces and often eaten with soy sauce. So it's different. Interesting. I guess I wouldn't have thought of that. Sushi, a dish consists of thinly sliced raw fish and occasionally meat without sushied rice. Or occasionally meat without sushied rice. Today, sushi is considered one of the most popular dishes in the world. A dish known as nare sushi are matured fish stored in fermented rice for possibly months at a time, has been cited as one of the earliest influences for the Japanese practice of applying rice on raw fish. The fish was fermented with rice vinegar, salt, and rice, after which the rice was discarded. Nare sushi is called onair, meaning fully fermented, as in opposition to namaneri. Namaneri? I don't know. Meaning partially fermented, a type of sushi that appeared in the Moromachi period. Fermented fish using rice such as nare sushi originated in Southeast Asia, where it was made to preserve freshwater fish, kind of like salt pork, I guess. Well, I think salt pork would have. I don't know if salt pork is just dry aged with salt, not fermented necessarily. Maybe. I guess insofar as it's a way to preserve the meat. Possibly in the Mekong River Basin, which is now Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam, and in the Irrawaddy River Basin, which is now Myanmar. First mention of a nare sushi-like food is in a Chinese dictionary thought to be from the 4th century, in this instance referring to salted fish that had been placed in cooked or steamed rice, which caused it to undergo fermentation process via lactic acid. In this instance, referring to salted fish that have been placed in cooked or steamed rice. For the record, I think rice tends to ferment quite quickly. It'll start developing like mold. I don't know if it's the first or second day. It's kind of interesting the way that would maybe be used as a fermentation medium. Fermentation methods following similar logic in other Asian rice cultures include burang, isda, blah, 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 bunch of foreign words of the Philippines, pekasam of Indonesia, and Malaysia, padek, I don't know, of Laos, plara. So pekasam of Indonesia and Malaysia, padek of Laos, plara of Thailand, sikai of Korea, and mam of Vietnam. The lactic fermentation of the rice prevents the fish from spoiling. When wet field rice cultivation was introduced in the Yayoi period, lakes and rivers would flood during the rainy season and fish would get caught in the rice paddy fields. Pickling was a way to preserve the excess fish and guarantee food for the following months. The nare sushi became an important source of protein for Japanese consumers. The term sushi literally means sour tasting. As the overall dish has a sour and umami savory taste. The term comes from, I wonder how much of fermentation just in general was a result of someone accidentally leaving stuff out too long. I left it out too long. Oh my goodness, I'm getting tipsy now. You have to wonder if just the development of alcoholic beverages started that way or somehow. Alright, as an overall dish has a sour umami savory taste. The term comes from the antiquated she terminal form conjunction no longer used. I don't know if I really want to look at the etymology. Numenari. Until the early 19th century, sushi slowly changed with Japanese cuisine. The Japanese started eating 3 meals a day. Rice was boiled instead of steamed. In large importance was the development of rice vinegar. During the Muromachi period, 1300 to 1573, 1336 to 1573, the Japanese invented a style of sushi called namanari, which means partially fermented. The fermentation period of namanari was shorter than that of the earlier nari sushi, and the rice used for fermentation was also eaten with the fish. In other words, with the invention of namanari, sushi changed from a preserved fish food to a food where fish and rice were eaten together. After the appearance of the namanari, sake leaves were used to shorten fermentation, and vinegar was used in the Edo period. Third type of sushi was developed. Haya sushi differed from the earlier sushi in that instead of lactic fermentation of rice vinegar, a fermented food was mixed with the rice to give it a sour taste. A fermented food. So it wasn't fermented at all? It was mixed with the rice to give it a sour taste so that it could be eaten at the same time as the fish. Why would you give it a sour taste so that it could be eaten at the same time as the fish? I don't know. Guess maybe they liked it at that point. Previously, sushi had evolved with a focus on shortening the fermentation period, but with the invention of haya sushi, which is simply mixed with vinegar. Oh, so they literally just added vinegar. All right. I was thinking like fermented food. Mixed the vinegar fermentation process was eliminated, which is simply mixed with vinegar. The fermentation process was eliminated and the sushi became a fast food. Many types of sushi known in the world today, such as chirashi sushi, scattered sushi, inari sushi, maki sushi, dagnabbit, too many ishes and zzz, rolled sushi, and so that's what the egg roll type thing is, I think. Like that's what this one would be. And nigiri sushi, hand pressed sushi. So I think that's what this one would be. Like the thing with a handful of rice with the meat pressed over top of it. All right, were invented during this period, and they are a type of haya sushi. Each region utilizes local flavors to produce various of sushi that has been passed down for many generations. A 1689 cookbook describes haya sushi, and a 1728 cookbook describes pouring vinegar over hakko sushi, box sushi, a square sushi made by filling a wooden frame with rice. All right, that's enough of that. You can go look up the rest of it if you want. Conveyor belt sushi. What the? Oh, so it's a way of serving it, not the type of sushi? I don't know. Alright. Interesting. Now, let's get down to brass tacks. Which means playing games, for the record. There are no brass tacks, sorry. Go in my room. Let's make sure this is actually going on. Oh, sorry. Some person I know just died, so unfortunate. All right, let me double check this. For For the record, we weren't super close, so. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Now. Kind of want. I wish that, like, that menu music were in the rest of it. I don't know if that's the same type of. All right. Now. Maybe it is. I think I did actually end up getting stone walls. That's gonna be fun. Probably stick around places a little bit longer. Come on, what the? The deuce, there's that. Oh, there's a gem thing. Featherstone. Alright, that was a little bit too close for comfort. Now. Where? And unfortunately, in my last go round, well, stupid, I also forgot to get my wood builders on before I left. Irksome in the extreme, I must say. I lost one of my balloon things, so I don't have as much carry weight. Yep. What the deuce? Alright. Happy now? Alright, maybe I have to do this first? Is that better? You happy now? There, we're good. There we go. Oh. Alright, now. Nope, wrong way. Alright, let's destroy that. Now, let's see if we can move some stuff around. And there. Get another one of those. Alright, now. Alright. Now, let's get some defenses built here. I still need to get some actual... what do these cost anyways? Oh, dagnabbit. Carbonite sand. which I have none of. That's gonna be a problem. Alright. Like so. Alright. That'll hopefully do for now, I think. And never mind. One more. Alright. Now, I think we're good on everything. Still quite a bit of electricity. I want. This one, all I need is. So, I forgot about this, but we do have a blooming what's this cost? Ow. Just more stuff. Alright, let's get some more these guys around. Eh, shush. Calling me overweight. Smug bastard. Production speed. Upgrade material production speed. Alright, we'll go with that. Now, bloodwood planks. We need to make a slight alteration here. Yeah. So good. It's like someone who's about to say, I find the Jewish brain the most fascinating sort of thing. Alright, now. Yoink. 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 Maybe I should be taking one of these guys and sticking them somewhere else. Alright. Alright, jackass. That guy there. So if there's anything else that's not being taken care of, we can fix that. Alright. But for now, we do. Oh, goodness gracious. We must cover this opening here very quickly. I must add. What the? Now, wall. The deuce. There we go. Maybe I should have built that further back, but I think we'll be all right. Dagnabbit. probably stick to this one. Yeah, I think I'm going to move this closer. Why not? Dag nabbit! All right, well, that was delightful. Now, let's move your behinds a little bit closer. I'm going to need to close up some of that stuff. Alright. Blingo. Alright, this is going to have to go through. Alright, now, I think I might have to add. I think that makes it so we can do acid wood. Huzzah! It's coming, I believe. Alright, now. Good on everything else. Good food production. Another bloodwood. Now let's see if we can make some defenses here quickly. Quickly. Yoink. Yoink. I think that's literally all you'll need, pretty much there. God bless choke points. Yeah. Well, there we go. Should do here if I get half a chance is that one. Okay, worth it. Who's doing what where? Oh, that's what's happening. Alright. Unless they didn't break through. Now, where was I? Defenses. I think it's about time to move this thing. I don't know if it's really being used. Alright. Not the hair. Oh. Is this where it was coming from? No. Not anymore. Alright. Forgot the last. Dang it all. Alright, let's do a little bit of craftsmanship. No, not there. Not there either. Technically all I need is... That's blocked? Why is it blocked? One more distance here. Oh, there we go. That could work. Yeah. There we go, that's good. Dang it. And this is the one place where I don't have resources. Alright. Oh, no, thank heavens. Did I build one over here? Yes, I did. Huzzah. See, that's why I need stone walls. Get stone walls built. Or get the capacity to build stone walls. Because this is going to become a problem. Just imagine it. Alright, now. So that's locked up tight. And now I think I could just like so. Yeah. What the deuce is going on here? Where's the bloody little thing knocking at the door? Oh, there we are. Thanks for nothing. Could have done that 5 years ago. Alright, now. I think I was about, before I was so rudely interrupted, to move the wood production somewhere else. So rudely interrupted. Alright, there's one right here. So, how about this? Yoink. Still want that to be first in 9. And I'll get another one. Down, down, down. Another one bites the dust. Down, down, down. Another one bites the dust. And another one gone. And another one down. Another one bites the dust. Alright, there we go. Now. Oh, bloody. Get rid of those. Alright, this is going to be a problem. Joink. Huh. That'll be good for now. I think this will still get plenty of wood. Alright, level 6. Now. Again, I want to get to that thingy. Still plenty of electricity, so I think I can afford to upgrade these things. Alright. Good for now on that. Still need to build another balloon thing at some point here, but for the moment, I think we're gonna do this. Is there anyone else? Small fuel extraction, 150. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Now, what I got here? 150. 50. 50 would do it. Some people say a man is made out of mud. A poor man's made out of muscle and blood. Oh, so you can't just rebuild it right there, I think. Alright, what do we need for that? So I think at some point I should start using the... Oh, goodness gracious, it's all being held up. Alright. Now, get the balloon going, just in case we need it. Alright, we're back to acceptable weight. A bit better for now. Do I have enough? No, I do have enough actually. Just need more of this stuff. No stuff, great. That's kind of what I want to actually upgrade here if I get a chance. Deuce is coming from? That, I don't know if that's supposed to be there, for the record. Oh, that's nice. You get to rebuild it with the upgrade, too. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Did not know that. Handy. Handy to know. There's kind of a hitch in the giddy up here. I could just put this line right in there instead of... Let's go like... So... Should solve some of that stuff. Only this point, I think I need to upgrade these things. They're literally like missing some of it. What do you get? Another day pouring deeper in debt. Oh, my soul to the company store. Technically, I don't need fuel, but it'd be nice to have it. I was born one morning when the sun didn't shine. I picked up my shovel and I walked to the mine. Yeah, I feel like this has got to be the next thing we try. Or maybe the... Oh yeah, I don't have the right resources for that yet. Okay, I gotta start thinking about getting the heck out of Dodge. Till I get that stuff where I need it. What the deuce is going on here? Did it destroy it? Oh, it did. They did destroy that. All right. Well, that sucks. I don't even know they actually went after those outbuildings or whatever. Alright. 16 tons. What do you get? Another day pouring deeper in debt. Saint Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. I was born one morning when the sun didn't shine. I picked up my shovel and I walked to the mine. Alright. Alright. 38 production, flux production, and I want to get a couple of these things on the actual ship itself. Make sure I do that before. I'll put both of these. That's level 1. Level 1 as well. So this one over here. Get that on. Still good. Stuff all the stone stuff where it needs to be. Alright, where are we at? Exactly on weight. So we could do some more upgrading. Alright, I'm gonna get that going and see. I'll see if we have enough stuff before the next takeoff that I can actually do. I don't know about that though. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have it. Don't think we're gonna have it. Yes. Getting there. What is this? Small fuel extraction. Yeah, 150. 150. All right. Come on, buddy. Go, baby, go. There we go. All right. 72. Tag nabbit. All right, let's get takeoff going. Let's get takeoff going here. Okay, that's on board. That one is not on board. So I wanted to make sure I got as much of that as possible. Sometime. I'll leave that one. Can't put more on right now anyways. There we go. I won't be here. Alright. Now, I think that's about it actually. Thanks for watching. And good day, sir.